Hey there, folks. Remember when computers were just giant calculators taking up entire rooms and processing data at a snail's pace? Well, hold on to your hats because we're about to dive into a world where machines are learning to understand our feelings. That's right, artificial intelligence is getting in touch with its emotional side. Let's kick things off with a trip down memory lane. Think back to your first dance, your wedding day, or holding your grandchild for the first time. Those butterflies in your stomach, the lump in your throat, the joy that made you feel like you could fly, that's the power of human emotions. Our emotions have been with us since the dawn of time, helping our ancestors decide whether to fight that saber-toothed tiger or hightail it out of there. But they're not just about survival. Emotions are the spice of life, coloring our world with shades of happiness, sadness, love, and everything in between. Remember how it felt when the Beatles first hit the airwaves? That excitement, that energy. Pure emotion, or the pride you felt watching Neil Armstrong take that giant leap for mankind in 1969. Goosebumps, right? That's the magic of human feelings. Now let's get a bit scientific for a moment. Our brains are like incredibly complex switchboards, with different regions lighting up for different emotions. The amygdala, for instance, is like your brain's own little panic button, firing up when you're scared or anxious. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex acts like the wise old sage, helping to regulate those emotions and keep us from flying off the handle every time someone cuts us off in traffic. But it's not just about brain regions. Our bodies get in on the act too. When you're nervous, your palms might get sweaty, just like before your first date, remember? When you're angry, your heart races, much like it did when you saw your team losing the championship with a three-pointer on the buzzer. It's a whole-body experience. Now, here's where things get interesting. Scientists and engineers have been working tirelessly to teach machines to understand these complex human emotions. It's like they're trying to give Hal from 2001, A Space Odyssey, a heart. The tools of the trade. Imagine a computer that can tell if you're smiling or frowning just like your grandkids can. That's what facial recognition AI does. It's like having a digital Sherlock Holmes picking up on the tiniest clues in your expression. For example, when you raise your eyebrows and widen your eyes, AI might interpret that as surprise. A slight upturn of the lips? That could be contentment or amusement. It's reading your face like a book, picking up on micro-expressions that even humans might miss. Remember how your mom could tell if you were upset just by the sound of your voice? AI is learning to do that too. It listens for changes in tone, pitch, and rhythm to figure out how you're feeling. Think about how your voice changes when you're excited. Maybe it gets higher and faster, like when you're talking about your favorite team winning the World Series, or how it might drop and slow down when you're feeling blue, like after listening to Yesterday by the Beatles. AI is learning to pick up on these subtle cues. This one's for all you email and texting enthusiasts out there. AI can now read between the lines of your messages, picking up on the sentiment behind your words. It's like having a pen pal who really gets you. It's not just about the words you use, but how you use them. Short, clipped sentences might indicate anger or frustration. Lots of exclamation points, you're probably excited. AI is learning to interpret these nuances, just like how you can tell the difference between a sincere thanks and a sarcastic one in a text message. This might sound like something out of the Jetsons, but AI can now interpret emotions based on physical changes in your body. Devices like smartwatches can monitor your heart rate, skin temperature, and even the electrical conductivity of your skin. Fancy term, galvanic skin response. Remember how your heart would race when you saw your high school crush, or how you'd break into a cold sweat before a big presentation? AI can now detect these physical changes and use them to infer your emotional state. It's like having a built-in lie detector, but for all your emotions. The challenge is, it's not all smooth sailing. Now don't get me wrong, teaching a machine to understand emotions is no walk in the park. It's more like trying to explain to your grandkids why rotary phones were cool. There are plenty of hurdles. What's considered polite in Minnesota might be downright rude in Manhattan. AI needs to learn these nuances. For instance, in some cultures, a thumbs up is a positive gesture, while in others, it's offensive. AI needs to navigate this complex cultural landscape to accurately interpret emotions across different contexts. Oh boy, this is a tough one. Even humans sometimes struggle with sarcasm, let alone machines. Imagine trying to explain the concept of opposite day to a computer. That's the kind of challenge AI faces when dealing with sarcasm. Life isn't always black and white. Sometimes we're happy and sad at the same time, like at a high school reunion. You're thrilled to see old friends, but maybe a bit melancholy about the passage of time. AI is still learning to navigate these complex emotional landscapes. Emotions don't exist in a vacuum. The same facial expression or tone of voice can mean different things in different situations. A furrowed brow might mean concentration during a chess game, but anger during an argument. AI needs to understand the broader context to accurately interpret emotions. Just like how some of us wore bell-bottoms in the 70s while others wouldn't be caught dead in them, we all express emotions differently. Some people are naturally more expressive while others keep a poker face. AI needs to learn to calibrate its interpretations for individual differences. The big question, can machines really feel? Now here's the million-dollar question. Can AI truly understand emotions the way we do? Can it feel the rush of first love or the bittersweet pang of nostalgia? The short answer is, not yet. AI can recognize and respond to emotions, but it can't experience them. It's like the difference between knowing the lyrics to "I Want to Hold Your Hand" and actually feeling the emotion behind the song. The nature of consciousness. This brings us to a deeper philosophical question. What is consciousness? And is it necessary for true emotional understanding? It's a debate that's been raging since the days of ancient Greek philosophers, and now it's taken on new life in the age of AI. Some argue that consciousness, that sense of self-awareness and subjective experience, is crucial for genuine emotional understanding. After all, how can you truly understand fear if you've never felt your heart race in a scary situation? Or comprehend joy if you've never experienced that warm, bubbly feeling of happiness? Others contend that if a machine can perfectly mimic emotional responses, the distinction becomes purely academic. It's the old "if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck" argument. If an AI can respond to emotions in a way that's indistinguishable from a human, does it matter if it's really feeling them? The Turing test for emotions. You might have heard of the Turing test proposed by Alan Turing back in the 1950s. It's a test of a machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behavior equivalent to or indistinguishable from that of a human. Well, some researchers are now proposing an emotional Turing test. Imagine a scenario where you're interacting with an entity via text chat. You share your feelings, your joys, your sorrows. The entity responds with empathy, offers comfort, shares in your happiness. If you can't tell whether you're chatting with a human or an AI, has the AI passed the emotional Turing test? It's food for thought. The future, a helping hand, or algorithm. So, what does this all mean for us? Well, imagine a world where your smart home can tell when you're feeling down and play your favorite Motown hits to cheer you up. It's like having your own personal DJ who always knows just what you need to hear. Virtual assistants can detect signs of depression or anxiety and offer support or resources. It's not about replacing therapists, but about providing an additional layer of support, available 24/7. Customer service bots can actually understand your frustration and respond with genuine-sounding empathy. No more yelling "representative" into your phone in frustration. Cars that can detect if you're too angry or upset to drive safely, potentially preventing accidents. It's like having a level-headed friend always in the passenger seat looking out for your safety. Educational software that adapts to a student's emotional state, providing encouragement when they're frustrated or additional challenges when they're bored. It's like having a tutor who always knows exactly how to keep you engaged. One of the most promising applications of emotional AI is in healthcare. Imagine AI systems that can detect early signs of conditions like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's based on subtle changes in facial expressions or speech patterns. It's like having a super observant doctor watching over you constantly. Mental health apps that can provide real-time support based on your emotional state. Feeling anxious? The app might guide you through a breathing exercise. Feeling low? It might suggest calling a friend or going for a walk. Robotic companions for the elderly that can provide emotional support and companionship. While they can't replace human interaction, they could help combat loneliness and provide an additional layer of care. Of course, with great power comes great responsibility. As we develop more advanced emotional AI, we need to grapple with some serious ethical questions. Privacy. How comfortable are we with AI systems constantly monitoring our emotional states? It's one thing to share your feelings with a friend, but how about with a corporation's AI? Manipulation. Could emotionally intelligent AI be used to manipulate people's feelings for commercial or political gain? Imagine a world where ads don't just target your interests, but your emotions too. Dependency. Could we become too reliant on AI for emotional support, potentially weakening our human-to-human emotional connections? Bias. AI systems are only as good as the data they're trained on. How do we ensure that emotional AI isn't biased against certain groups of people? These are complex questions without easy answers, but they're crucial to consider as we move forward in this brave new world of emotional AI. As we venture into this brave new world of emotional AI, it's important to remember what makes us uniquely human. Our capacity for deep, genuine emotion, the kind that makes us laugh until we cry or cry until we laugh, that's something truly special. AI might be learning to read our emotions, but it's up to us to keep feeling them, expressing them, and sharing them with each other. After all, isn't that what life's all about? So, the next time you're moved by a beautiful sunset, touched by an act of kindness, or tickled by a good joke, remember, you're experiencing something wonderfully, uniquely human. And who knows, maybe someday we'll be able to share those feelings with our AI friends too. Until then, keep feeling, keep loving, and keep being beautifully human. As we stand on the brink of this emotional AI revolution, it's natural to feel a mix of excitement and apprehension. After all, we've seen how technology can change the world in ways we never expected. Who would have thought back in the days of party lines that we'd one day be carrying around powerful computers in our pockets? But here's the thing, just as smartphones didn't replace human conversation, despite what some might say about teenagers these days, emotional AI isn't about replacing human empathy and connection. It's about enhancing our understanding of emotions, providing support where needed, and maybe even helping us become more emotionally intelligent ourselves. Imagine a world where we're all a little bit better at understanding and expressing our emotions, where mental health support is readily available to anyone who needs it, where our devices work with us to create environments that support our emotional well-being. That's the potential of emotional AI. Of course, it's not all going to be smooth sailing. There will be bumps along the road, ethical dilemmas to navigate, and probably a few oops moments as the technology develops. But isn't that true of any great adventure? So, as we move forward into this new frontier, let's do so with open minds and open hearts. Let's embrace the potential of emotional AI while also cherishing and nurturing our human connections. After all, at the end of the day, it's those connections, the laugh shared with an old friend, the comforting hug from a loved one, the understanding smile from a stranger, that make life truly rich. And who knows, maybe one day we'll look back on this time as the beginning of a new era in human-machine interaction. An era where our devices don't just obey our commands but understand our feelings. An era where technology doesn't just make our lives easier but more emotionally fulfilling. So here's to the future. May it be filled with understanding, empathy, and yes, plenty of emotion. Because whether those emotions are interpreted by a human heart or an artificial intelligence, they're what make the human experience so wonderfully, beautifully complex. Now, what do you think about this emotional AI revolution? Does it excite you, worry you, or maybe a bit of both? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more mind-bending explorations of technology and humanity. And remember, no matter how smart our machines get, there's one thing they can never replace: you. So keep being your wonderful, emotional human self. The world needs it now more than ever.